The biggest thing that I think I got wrong, and I'm speaking personally for me, I underestimated the challenge of what it is for the MSP to change the mindset. The success, that breakthrough that you had and I had in my business was when I took the time to really work on the business, not in the business, and be strategic. If you always do what you've always done, you always get what you've always got. The digital buyer doesn't want to speak to anyone, but also the digital buyer doesn't care about brand. They don't care what car they drive, as long as how much it's going to cost, 200 quid a month, yeah, I'll go for that. Transformation is in the heart and mind of the leaders of the business. If it doesn't happen there, it's not going to happen internally in the organization. Expect change to happen, right? Change is the only constant. Don't complain when some MIP comes and takes your top customers.
Welcome. We are here, Pax8 Beyond Salt Lake City, and we are interviewing some of the Pax8 exec here today. Very pleased to say that we've got Phylip Morgan, who I've known for a very long time through various guises. Lovely to see you, Phylip.
You too.
Lovely to see you here. How is your week going, and when did you arrive here in Salt Lake City?
Well, I'm feeling a bit more human now, Austen. Jet lag is gone. So I arrived here Thursday, and it's been great to meet up with the partners in advance. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit. We've known one another for a few years. I think it's nearly 10 years. I think I've maybe known yourself. We've known one another for quite a long time.
It's a bit more than that.
Is it?
Yes,
Is it really?
But we'll keep that quiet, right?
We'll keep that one quiet. So just tell us a little bit about yourself. How have you got from where a young lad from Wales to here? You're in Salt Lake City with Pax8, and how did you get here? What's the journey been?
And that's one heck of a journey, right? I'm a farmer's son from West Wales, and I wonder sometimes, how the heck did I end up doing this? And can I first of all say thanks very much for the privilege of being here on the Network Group podcast.
You've got a little bit of a connection there.
Network Group has a very, very special place in my heart, as you know. So to be here with you today is really, really special. So thanks for the invitation. And I think Network Group is part of my journey, right? I start this MSP with my brother back in 1989, and then I leave that and get asked to lead at Network Group, and thank you for joining.
You brought me
time,
in. You actually brought my company in.
He brought both of us in.
Yeah,
okay.
Did you join as well?
I met him. We were at an Ingram Micro event at Milton Keynes, and this man sat down beside me, and I had no idea who he was. And then the next thing is, we're having all conversations about peer networks, and I'd been in Evolve, which was the ConnectWise group. At that time it was HTG. And then this man's talking to me about the industry and my passions, and where I was a farmer's son from Scotland. And the next thing is another phone call. About 2-3 weeks later, you followed up.
Yeah.
And it just you were very good at that. You are very good at that. Very passionate around the whole MSP industry, and still are.
Yeah, and I think that. And I am you, right? That's what I say to most partners, because I've had 20 years of running an MSP. Because it's freaking hard, right? It is really, really hard trying to help these SMBs, because a lot of the time, we talked about this, particularly with you, Peter, I've spent time with you in Dublin, right? It's really, really hard because you're basically a coach to a lot of the businesses that are coming to you around technology solutions. So you're like part therapist, part technologist, part banker. You're like helping them with so many different things. And I think that's what makes being a managed service provider really, really hard. So for me, I'm really privileged to be here at the end of the journey here where I am today. Well, it's not the end.
Not the end,
it's not the end, but where I am in this chapter, I'm here at Pax8. But I'm really, really enjoying playing a global role with this fantastic business, building tools that can help MSPs do more, better, faster and different.
So just for the audience, because some people might not know you, what's your official title now? You're in Pax8, and what's your title within the organisation now?
So I am now Senior Vice President of Marketplace and Channel Expansion. Basically what that means, edited edition of it, is you saw some of it, and we might be double-clicking on this in a minute when we're talking about some of the challenges that we're talking about in SMB. But like Nick shared in this morning's session, that folk can catch up on that online because we broadcast that for the first time ever.
Well done, congratulations.
Yes, thank you. And we want to share that news, but at the end of the day, this piece of transformation that we're doing at the moment starts with this thing called mindset, skill set, and tool set. And it's the mindset shift that is the key thing. So what I'm doing at this moment in time, the transformation that I'm doing is all around the MIP. How can I help that transformation in both mindset, skill set, tool set? How can I help those MSPs that want to transition to managing intelligence rather than just services?
And MIP stands for?
Managed Intelligence Provider. How can we help them move across? And thanks for that call out. I've got used to this being an acronym already, but I'm aware that some of the listeners might not be aware of MIP.
Thank you. Behind them.
And what surprised you most about the MIP journey so far?
You're going to laugh when I say this, Peter, but I should have known this because most MSPs are actually SMBs themselves, aren't they? And I should have known that. So this same challenge that you have in the everyday with your customers, trying to get them to transform and adopt new technology, right? And take things like, I don't know, digital transformation around COVID, right? COVID forced that transformation to happen, that people are using Teams and all of what they're doing in a different way. It forced that upon them. Well, we're in a position at the moment that a change that's even greater than that, driven by AI, is coming their way, but we can't force it. It has to happen naturally and organically. So the biggest thing that I think I got wrong, and I'm speaking personally for me, the business is a lot more clever, but it was I underestimated the challenge of what it is for the MSP to change the mindset.
Yeah.
And you have to do that first, right, before you can actually think differently about, okay, what does it mean for me then as a business leader and as a founder of my MSP? Then
acronyms really do trip us up
they
every
do.
day, don't they?
But then, unless the MSP is approaching that intelligence approach to it, rather than maybe security and services as they've historically been doing in the past, unless they change the mindset, it's pointless having the skill set and tool set conversation.
Exactly, but when you look at mindset is probably one of the most challenging things to change because it's uncomfortable. And I see an awful lot of business leaders and MSP owners, and they will default back to the tools because that's where they feel comfortable. And it's even when we come down to pricing managed services, and when you're in a competitive situation, the prospect or the customer, if they don't really understand, they will just go back to price. They will use price because they understand price, but they don't understand necessarily what they're buying. So to bring it back to mindset, how do you take an MSP, a traditional MSP owner, on that mindset shift journey? Like, where do you start? Because it's very good to say we need to change the mindset, but tell us in baby steps. What should the listeners, if they're out there right now, what are the baby steps they can take right now to start to open their minds up to this new managed intelligence partner or provider?
And let me say something to start with, noting that I started in the office products industry. We are still selling fax machines today on the planet.
We still are.
We still are, okay? We are still doing break fix today. So there's still a really honourable living that people can still do if they want to still do break fix, if they still want to be a value-added reseller, if they still want to just be an MSP. That is a really honourable thing that they can do. Because I'm talking to some partners, like Peter, I remember talking to some of the partners in the Evergreen community, right? And they're saying, some of the partners saying, do I really want to do this shift again, right?
Okay.
MSP 3.0 to whatever it is. Phil, and I'm saying them, well, don't do the shift then.
Yeah. It's not, nobody's telling you have to do it.
Okay.
But there is a momentum that is guiding a lot of us.
I would disagree with that.
However, so let me justify and then you come back with a question. Sorry to cut across. If you're not going to make the shift, What I am saying is your market is going to get smaller because the market for fax machines and the market for break fix is smaller now than it ever has been, right? So if you're going to stay an MSP, that bell curve that you're all familiar with the life cycles of products, it's going to be on the way down when MIP is on the way
Well,
up.
we just had Matt came
my
on
point.
and said something. He asked the question. He said, "Think back to the high street and how many of those shops are still there."
Right.
Now you look at the high street now. How many of the PC shops are now left on the high street? And it's declining. We do recognise there's still going to be the odd one or two. But I think it's back to you. Is what are the actions that these would be encouraged to follow to get towards that managed intelligence provider outline?
Yeah, but you were disagreeing with me a moment ago.
He was.
So pop that question in because I want to answer it, right? I'm not going to shy away from...
I disagree with. I think there's a huge momentum to move towards more an agentic provisioning of services to clients, but we heard about it today. It has to be human centric. The human is at the core of the services that have been delivered, but I still see. You've got a very healthy MSP community that has a very good relationship, the last mile relationship with all of their clients. To shift mindset, as I go back to it, is a real challenge. And I think that a lot of the people who might be listening, the bit they're struggling with is, what are the first steps I need to take in order to change that mindset, to begin this journey towards an MIP? What should I be doing? Because the vision is there. The path there, though, you start with the mindset. Maybe the question I should ask you is, if you were starting an MSP today, what would you do?
Okay, so let me answer the change management question first, okay? Because I'm talking here to two successful businessmen that have exited their business at some time, right? And I know that the success for both of you, particularly for you, Austen, came from the peer groups and HTG back in the day, right?
Yeah.
And I think the statement I would say first, which is an SMB problem, not just an MSP problem, is to get out of the firefight of the daily reactive fire extinguisher treatment of putting that problem out. And I think both of you would agree with me that it's the success, the breakthrough that you had and I had in my business was when I took the time to step back from my business, get my senior leadership together on an off-site and begin to really work on the business, not in the business, and be strategic. Because, Henry Ford said, if you always do what you've always done, Zig Ziglar said, if you always do what you've always done, you always get what you've always got. And I think the challenge is not so much change management and transformation for MSPs, it's getting out of their own way. Because they will leave beyond, all inspired by Nick and Scott and all the talks. But there's a fire to put out on Monday morning, right, when they get back to the office, and they'll jump into that. So my biggest thing would be, and it's the answer to both questions, what do they need to do and what I would do, is I would ask myself is, what am I doing every month with myself and my key leadership team? How am I taking time aside from the rat race every single week, an L10,
L10.
every single month to just refocus in what we're doing and say, what have I done today to take the business forward? And I think having the AI lens as part of that, as well as driving my EBIT and my tech stack and all of what we do in an MSP's business, I think that fundamentally is the challenge. And what we are trying to do here at Pax8 with all the tools that we're doing is give time back to the MSP through the tools and services that we are doing. So for example, the MIP program that we launched today is the 2025 was all about the why. The releases that we've done here from stage this week have been about the how, giving you a playbook, giving you a tool set by which for you to transform that.
I remember when we moved from a break fix consultative organisation to an MSP. And there were a few out there who were giving the roadmap. And I always remember Gary Pika and his chocolate cake.
Yeah.
That one always sat with me about the differentiation between the ingredients
Yes.
and the finished article
Yes.
of what somebody was putting, the value add they were paying for.
Right.
But that mindset was well thought out. We actually had a roadmap. What we had last year with the why, I think a lot of MSPs to transition to MIP were struggling with, well, what do I do next? How do I change this? Who moved my cheese?
Yes.
And I
Great book.
remember they keep coming back to the cheese and looking at it and thinking, well, I need to go and find better cheese.
Yeah.
But they don't know the route through the maze yet.
Yes.
Have you given us a route? Is this what we're going to see out of what announcement we had today?
Well, we're giving you a certain path here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, fundamentally, the biggest business change that we are seeing right now is up until this point, which is why we called it managed intelligence provision. Okay? We felt, and Scott specifically felt, that this was no longer an upgrade. This is not an evolution. This is a revolution, right? Like, we look back at this like electricity, like semiconductors and everything. It'll be that revolutionary for us. So the demands of that required a different approach to us, which is why we created the managed intelligence kind of approach to what it is we're doing.
So what capability will MSPs need to adopt to be successful, in 2030? What's the biggest capability they're going to need to invest in?
So let me make a statement first of all, and then I'll answer that question. Statement number one, the digital buyer is here, okay?
Yeah.
Think of, look, the three of us have got kids. They don't want to speak to anyone. They just want to, they just want to voice note you, Austen. They just text you, right?
Try and phone a child just now, and they text back and say, "Is there something wrong?" You go, "No,
What do you want?"
I just want to speak to you.
Absolutely. But those buyers, those people that are making decisions about contracts with MSPs are now in the marketplace, right? So we created, the tools in terms of our marketplace to serve the digital buyer, okay? So the digital buyer doesn't want to speak to anyone, but also the digital buyer doesn't care about brand. So for example, you take us here in terms of cars, right? We're married to a brand. They don't care. They don't care what car they drive, as long as how much it's going to cost, 200 quid a month, yeah, I'll go for that. They're not married to brands in the same way. And those two, the digital buyer and then the death of brand, they don't even care. So Microsoft Gold Partner status or, Lenovo reseller, there's stuff on our website. They don't really care anymore. So the point that I'm making by that shift change is we are having to move from being technology solutions providers, Peter, to being business consultants and delivering a business outcome.
I wholly agree. And this goes to my next point. You've just touched on it there. What will those buyers or the clients be buying that they're not buying today in 2030?
Well, what they will be buying is they might be coming to you and I would encourage, anybody who's listening here today, top tip that I'm learning from
We have a top tip.
A top tip.
I can see a YouTube short coming.
This is a top tip.
Tip.
Okay, so the top tip would be when a customer is coming to you because, I don't know, they've been watching something on TV or TikTok or whatever, and they've had that light bulb moment and say, AI or an agent could do this for me. They're going to come to you with an agent. The worst thing that you can do, that we are learning from our partners, is to go in and start building that for them. Just turn around to them, that's a really good idea. Okay, in order to do that, what we would like to do with you first, because before we unleash AI in your organization, we have to do a data and AI readiness assessment. Make sure, because we don't want your data going the wrong place, and we're going to sit back, and as part of that data and AI readiness assessment, we're going to do, where's your data? What's in the cloud? Where have you got something maybe on a factory floor, some old server or whatever it is? Pulling all of that stuff together, like a networking kind of survey that we used to do back in the day, that you're pulling it all together. But as well as that, there's another top tip that I can give you.
Top tip too.
There's, it's called a KFFM. You guys are familiar with it, a key function flow map. where you can map from quote to cash, what are the processes that are taking place in a business. And I think doing a data and AI readiness assessment and doing what we call in the MIP playbook that you can download from the Pax8 website right now, doing this discovery phase of going in and discovering what's where, how does your business work, and then off the back of that, presenting to them where their opportunity could be, because, Claude or Copilot can write that out for you, and then assessing it against the opportunity they brought to you. Because a lot of the time, the best opportunity is the one that either generates the most revenue in the business, the one that reduces the most cost in the business, or fundamentally manages risk in the business, right? So last thing you want to do is try and unleash AI on a business to take advantage of the growth or the gaining efficiencies when you're going to open a pile of backdoors because you didn't know that there's some problems in your data. So that's why that's important in the way that you're unleashing it. And that's a business conversation, right?
And this is my point. Do you think that the MSP can have that conversation as they're currently structured? You typically go into an MSP, it's level 1, level 2, level 3, ProServe, maybe have a cybersecurity department. Their KPI differently, the culture's different. Do you think that MSPs today have the resources needed to go and have that conversation with business leaders?
It's just a mindset change. That's all it is. They can do it, and the reason I know they can do that, they did that before when we went into the cloud. They've done it on security. They've done it on managed services. That's why the MSP continues to grow, is because we can change.
Give us top tip number 3.
Top tip number 3.
Top tip.
What resource should MSPs be going out looking for right now? What on a CV should they be looking for?
Okay, I'll give you 3, and these 3 are contingent upon the role that your executive leadership team are doing. So for example, a lot of MSPs, as you know, they are founder sales led.
Yes.
Okay, so they're out there closing all the business, appointment making, going out there and
the
getting
biggest
it.
strength and the biggest weakness.
Well, it's the biggest strength and the biggest weakness is equally if I go to the founder technical guy, right? Because that is still biggest strength, biggest weakness. And you've got to swap that across your executive leadership team, wherever you are. Okay, we have security founders as well. So you're building your MSP depending on where you came from, right? So let's talk about Phil Morgan. I've always been a guy that's been, I can have a technical conversation, okay, but I'm not the smartest tool in the toolbox. And all I ever did was have a really good conversation with the customers, and I would go out there, and because I'm a little bit thick, Austen, I would go out, I would take lots of notes.
I will not have that said. He is not thick. Challenged, but not thick.
I've got 0 qualifications, as you know. So I would take the fact find, this is what they're trying to do, ask as many questions as possible, and I'd come back in and I'd sit down with Mark and the team and I'd say, what do we need to build here? Can we do something? And they'd say, oh, well, you need to go back and ask some more questions, and I would come back. So that job that I was doing, that consultant, is what I'm seeing from most of them at the moment, particularly those that are attracting them from highly regulated markets right now.
Yeah,
so we're seeing where the IFA market, as a good example, so independent financial advisors.
Yes.
So we're seeing lots of IFAs go to that market and recruit them because they know how to do a fact find. They know how to sell in a regularly compliant way against FCA frameworks in the UK. That's the Cyber Essentials and Matt Lee that you had here earlier. That's a framework in the same way. But they're going to do a fact find, then come back and say, well, what's the best tax advice? Where are we on inheritance tax there? In your case, trusts, and how do we manage the wealth of high net worth individuals, guys? All of that kind of stuff that you're doing. Yeah, just Pete then, yeah. Okay. But all of that. So I think that's the number one skill. The second skill that I'm seeing is developers.
Yeah. Okay.
That people that are building internal or customer-facing kind of vibe coding stuff at the moment that they're doing it, we're seeing them going, okay, that's not enough for us to just do vibe coding. I need to have like a Python dev that I need to take on board now to mark the homework, make sure this doesn't give us that we're not becoming the vulnerability for the customer in the way that we're developing maybe an application or an agent for them in what they're doing. And then the other one, which is still the big one, the third one that I'm seeing, is companies that are moving from MSP to MIP and totally changing their brand as they do that. In Network Group, shout out to Chris Pottrell at Nebula.
Yeah.
So he's got Nebula IT, and he's created Nebulabs, that's what I'm calling it. Sorry, Nebulabs instead of Nebula IT Laboratories or whatever he called it, that long version. But he's siloing his team in kind of like a Lockheed Martin Skunkworks way. If you
now, is that been done because, and I haven't spoken to Chris about this, but
yes,
is there a risk that your clients, because they see you as someone who fixes problems, you come in and you sort the IT out, cybersecurity, you meet them, you talk about risk, you have a risk register, all that kind of stuff. That's a different engagement, very much a different engagement than looking at the business from root to branch and helping them optimize the business outcomes and the business processes in there. So do you think by having a separate brand that it actually is allowing a different persona, a different engagement and a different value play? So yeah, and it goes, so can I take MSP X and can I go on that journey? Or do I need to create this new identity?
So this is my personal opinion. Okay, and I only know this about change management and what I've learned down the years with leading people, is transformation the first place has got to start is in the heart and mind of the leaders of the business. If it doesn't happen there, it's not going to happen internally in the organization. And then the shift has got to happen in the corridors of power inside Lantech and inside the different companies. And then it exposes on the outside. So an example of that is Pax8. If it doesn't happen in Scott and Nick's head as they work together to take the market, it's definitely not going to land in the corridors of Pax8.
And would you say the same?
And I'm saying exactly the same for an MSP.
But would you also say the same thing for the MSP's client base as well, that they have to go through a similar journey to accept the AI and how they will engage with it as well?
I don't think it needs to happen in the same way within the client, because all they need is the trusted partner to deliver it.
Okay.
And if my trusted partner, because in an SMB, I've got lots of trusted partners.
Yeah.
I've got a HR consultant I'll be using, haven't I?
Yes.
I've got a firm of accountants that I'll be using. I've got a lawyer. So I can I've got three options right now. I can either say I'm a mid-market company, I could have an MSSP that's just looking after marking the homework of the MSP to the framework, and he's got an ed role, maybe a VCIO, a VCISO. So I've got an MSP that might be using in that role. I've got an MSP that's delivering the SecOps piece off the back of that, go and patch that's dropped off iTunes, get that fixed. And then I will have an MIP that will be managing the intelligence layer in the business. So you might end up in a modern company having 6 or 7 trusted advisors. The opportunity that's right now is what I think is the MIP layer is going to trump it.
Yeah.
The managed intelligence layer is going to dictate what is happening down on both other layers, because governance, risk and compliance and security is a wrapper around the AI strategy. So what I mean by that, let me give you another top tip.
Number 4. We're getting loads here.
Top tip number 4. Every CEO, every founder, every business leader will tell you they've got a strategy. If I ask them, what do you want to achieve in the next 12 months? They want to open another branch. They want to launch a new product.
Their job is to set the
build
vision.
another factory. They will have a vision.
Yeah.
Okay? They will also, some of them, have a really good business plan. Some of it split down into costs and headcount and what that looks like. And any good MSP is having those QBRs, but particularly is having that strategic quarterly business review, aren't they, at the beginning of the year, saying, hey, where's your budget? And linking it into their vision for the year. Okay, the top tip is to ask at that point when you say, that's really great, that's such a compelling vision that you've just shared with me, Mr. CEO. Tell me, what's your data strategy to achieve that vision?
Yeah.
And they will turn around and say, a data strategy.
What is that?
What's one of them?
Yeah.
And you'll be able to say, well, how's about I help you with that? We could do a data and readiness AI assessment. We're covering things like shadow AI. We're covering things like where's the data in your business? We can deliver that to you, back to deliver that.
And Pax8 can help with that, can't they?
That's right. So you can either do it yourself, right, and we can train you, go onto our academy and the stuff that we've got. But right now, if you can't do that, and you want to do that, you can reach out to Pax8 and our team will
Fantastic.
do that. We'll either do it for you full outsource, and obviously we've got released today here, we've got what we're calling the intelligence program and intelligence products that we're releasing today. So we've got 4 key products that we've got that we can provide you as a service under your name. So not under Pax8's name, we can provide that third party for you so you go out and get the market.
As we look forward for MSPs now, we're in a real time of change and rapid change.
Yes.
Not the change that we can think back, step back for a year or two, see what other people do. It's the pace at which, and we've seen Anthropic's CEO come out recently, actually calling for a kind of a stand down of the innovation speed to try and let people adopt this because they're concerned at where it's going. But in terms of the MSP, I see a Y in the road, and I'm very interested to get your take on this. I see MSPs sometimes thinking, oh, well, I'll do a highly optimized version of my business. I'm going to bring in AI agents. I'm going to try and automate as much as I can of level 1, level 2, maybe cybersecurity, reduce headcount potentially, but just highly optimize their own MSP and the traditional services to a point. And then the other side, I'm seeing MSPs go, well, hold on. We need to start thinking about that route to branch journey of business processes within our clients' businesses. Now, which side of that Y would you think success is going to land?
Well, let me talk about the first side of your fork in the road, because I think it's just now suddenly just become one path. So first of all, Sunday night, you saw Trump with the executive order and sitting down with the frontier firms and saying, okay, this is where we are. And a lot of this, some people at Google Mythos and what happened there, some of which you heard on stage right now, is because the intelligence models that we've got at this moment in time are quite incredible what they've been able to do in the short speed that we've had. So we signed the executive order that's going to allow kind of that 30-day window to evaluate the next iteration of each one before it's released at large. But Trump has been quite clear, we are not slowing down. So that's point 1. Point 2, we all know that 3 of the biggest IPOs that we've ever seen in the course of history are going to happen this summer. We saw Anthropic's announced, we saw SpaceX announced, OpenAI is coming. And we're now not talking kind of billion-dollar IPOs now. We're talking $1 trillion. So all I would say, Austen, is look at what these guys have built with very little cash. Imagine what they can now do with billions of dollars for an IPO. So that's very much my personal view, but just look at the tea leaves and you can see what's kind of going to be happening. So I think it's forcing this change transformation of whether we like it or not. It's going to go faster and faster and faster, and we have to adapt to it.
And for MSPs that are maybe looking to exit over the next, MSP leaders are looking to exit over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, again, going back to that Y in the road, do you think the valuation is going to be better if they've gone down the road of a highly optimized service delivery model with AI agents all built in and still selling that model? Or do you think that the one that is now ingrained in their clients' businesses, doing a lot of business process alignment and consultation around improving those businesses, do you think those are going to have a higher multiple or higher value than ones that are gone into optimizing the actual business, their own internal business processes?
I could only answer that question honestly and to say right now, I don't know. Okay, and that's my personal view. Because one of the things that's happening is we're aware of so much private equity money that's been in this space at the moment, particularly, people stepping back from the SaaSpocalypse, it's been called, and everything else like that. We've seen so many vibe startups, haven't we? We've all seen them happening at the moment. So we're all looking at where does ISV software development in this space go at the moment. So we've seen private equity maybe pulling out of that, and then we're also seeing them double down now on the MSP market, right? So some are saying, well, some people are saying the death of MSPs. I think it will evolve, because
it will evolve.
One of the things I think of what will evolve, there will be more MSPs. 2 years ago, I was saying, I think I will see in my lifetime over 1 million trusted advisors.
Wow.
Now, I think that's different, because I think we will call MSPs something different. And I think the trusted advisors will be maybe in AI, maybe in some even new market that hasn't been developed yet, maybe service provision, maybe security or whatever. The landscape is massive, and the reason I know it's massive is what we shared from stage today. There are currently 100,000. So I'm quoting Canalys here, 90,000 MSPs and 10,000 MSSPs on the planet today.
100
versus.
But there are how many?
Yeah, 450.
400 million
businesses.
Small businesses out there. There's not enough trusted advisor to help them.
The other word I kept hearing today on stage was urgent. Urgency and urgent. How urgent is it that the MSPs need to be adopting and reviewing the MIP process and starting that journey, changing their mindset?
I think regret is the worst thing that can happen to us, right? And we've all got lots of regrets that we go, I wish I'd done this earlier, I wish I did. Personally for me, the irony of it, look at the three of us here, the old crooners, on a freaking podcast. Isn't that the funniest thing in the world?
I think that's evolution. I think
it's evolution,
but
we went first on that. We were thinking this social media thing. I don't know how I feel about it.
Well, I have a confession. I only just signed up for Instagram. I have avoided it for the last number of years, and the only reason I did it, and I'm sure the audience don't give a rubbish about this, but my daughter is traveling in Vietnam with the school. She's only 16. And they're doing the updates through that. So I had to get on Instagram in order to be able to see how she's getting on. She's no phone with her or anything.
That's the same. That's one of those bell curve things. You're coming down the other side of the bell curve, and you're being forced to get away from the key.
Yes,
and I would be a tech nerd.
To be an Instagram.
Yeah,
so, you're a tech.
And then I used
genius.
it. I did the whole journey here, all on Instagram. I photographed the whole thing so my family can keep up with where I am, and they're loving it. And so there is a lot of value.
So
in
your
these
kids DM you now instead of text you, do they?
Just we said earlier on, you ring your children, they will never answer, but when they ring you, they want you to answer straight away. And
they don't call me, they FaceTime me, man. That's what happens, right? But the point I'm saying, the sense of urgency is just go check it out, Austen. Just go check it out. So at the moment, we can either be, just back to Who Moved My Cheese that you were mentioning. What's chapter 1 about? Chapter 1 is expect change to happen, right? And so, that's change is the only constant. And if we're going to go, turn back and say, who went and moved the cheese? You're the person that was caught napping, right? And so in the same way, don't complain when some MIP comes and takes your top customers, because, mate, we were telling you about it.
Be intentional. Be intentional
But just go and check out the cheese, smell it, lift it up, have a look at it. Please, Philly cheese, shout out to Welsh cheese. But please check it out.
There are many other cheeses, by the way.
There are other brands of
not
cheese
sponsored by cheese.
Not sponsored by cheese.
Phil, one question I've always wanted to ask you is, where does your energy come from?
Where do you find it? Do you bottle it? Is it Welsh water you carry around with you?
I've always been passionate about everything that I do in life, that I enjoy doing. You know that famous Mark Twain phrase, find a job you love and you'll never work a day in your life again. I really feel that I'm so privileged to be having a career. I owe it to my father that at kind of 16 years of age said, do you love farming? And I said, no. Well, for goodness sake, don't be a farmer, because he always wanted to be an electrician. And I think it was from my father's pain that he encouraged me and the boys to go and seek out the world and do it. And so the energy comes from just, I love what I do, I love helping MSPs, because fundamentally, think about it, I am helping 400 MSPs, SMBs across the world transform today. It's a kind of a domino effect. So if I can change the hearts and minds of an MSP, that they can change their customers wherever they are in the world. So I take a lot of thought that from Aberdeen to Dublin, both of you, that I've played maybe a small part in changing the lives of the founders of those businesses in your part of the world. So it's that very big view that I have that gets me out of bed in the morning rather than keeps me awake at night.
Phylip, thank you. Honestly, it's been amazing. We're going to wrap it up now.
Peter, keep talking.
We could keep on talking, but we're going to wrap it up. We've got some more guests, and I know Phil's got his. I think he's got a young chap here who's just trying to keep him on track. Phil, thank you very much. And
thank you.
Again, just to the audience, to get in contact with you, LinkedIn, what's the best ways to get hold of you?
Go to Copilot, go to Claude, go to wherever you are, just type in Phylip Morgan with a Y. Phylip Morgan with a Y. Thankfully, everybody seems to know me on the internet, including all the agents already.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That's us. We're wrapping up this episode today. Peter, Phylip, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.